Alright, this video goes over adding and subtracting fractions and mixed numbers. When we're adding and subtracting fractions, we must have a common denominator. Now, some of your elementary teachers taught you just to find a common denominator, while others taught you to find the least common denominator. It's easier to do common, but then you have to simplify your answer. It's, I think, harder, but better to do least common denominator. I'll show you both. So common denominator, the strategy is to just multiply the denominators by each other. Right? So 8 times 6, so our common denominator is going to be 48. And then if I multiply 3 times 6, that's 3 times 6, and then 5 times 8, 5 times 8, I get 18 over 48 plus 40 over 48. Now when we're adding fractions with common denominators, we're only adding the numerator or the top numbers, so this becomes 58 over 48, which simplifies to 1 and 10 over 48, which simplifies to 1 and 5 over 24. So that is one way to do it. I personally like finding the least common denominator better. So one way to find the least common denominator is using the ladder method. My denominators are 8 and 6. I find a common multiple of 8 and 6, which is 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 4 and 3 have no more common denominators besides 1, so I just write a capital L like this. 2 times 4 times 3. That's 8 times 3, or 24. So I know my denominator is actually 24. Because this is 8 times 3, and this is 6 times 4. Which means on top it's 3 eighths times 3 and 5 sixths times 4. This becomes 9 over 24 plus 20 over 24. 29 over 24, which is equal to 1 and 5 24. So honestly, the ladder method is something I do if it's hard. For something when it's only two numbers, I generally use another method. I just look at the two denominators to find the least common denominator, right? I look at these two and I look for the bigger one. So in this case it's 8. And then I just go, okay, multiples of the largest denominator. 8. Does 6 go into 8? No. So 8 times 2, 16. Does 6 go into 16? No. 8 times 3, 24. Does 6 goes into 24? Yes. So that's my LCM. Right, so my strategy is, you could do the ladder method, that's great. But honestly, I just find the bigger denominator, and then I just do multiples of that big denominator until the other denominator also goes into it. And then that's my least common denominator. Okay, let's do some practice. Let's have 7 eighths. Oh, let's go A. 7 eighths plus 2 thirds plus 5 sixths. Here we have 3 denominators, so I'm going to use my method. I'm going to look for the biggest one. My biggest denominator here is 8. So I'm thinking, let's do 3 and 6 go into 8? No. What about 8 times 2, 16? Do 3 and 6 go into 16? No. 8 times 3, 24. Does 3 go into 24? Yes. Does 6 go into 24? Yes. So I know my LCM is 24. This is times 3, so 7 times 3 is 21. Here we have times 8, so 2 times 8 is 16. Here is times 4, so 5 times 4 is 20. Left to right, 21 plus 16 is 37 over 24 plus 20 over 24. That's 57 over 24. Oh my gosh. That's what, 2 and 9 over 24? which can be simplified 2 and 3 over 8. Oh, fractions. Hope that's right. Is that right? That's right. Okay, good. All right. What if we have mixed numbers? So B. What if it's 7 and 1/3 plus 8 and 1/5? Well, 3 and 5 have nothing in common, so I know that the common denominator is going to be 3 times 5 or 15. I keep this as 7 and 8. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 3 is 3. When dealing with mixed numbers, some elementary teachers tell you to change it to like an improper fraction. You can do it that way. I prefer to just keep it whole numbers with whole numbers and fractions with fractions. So 7 plus 8, that's going to be 15. And then 5 fifteenths plus 3 fifteenths, that's 8 fifteenths. Can't be simplified, so that's just my answer. 15 and 8 fifteenths. And then part C. Let's have 14 and 3/5 minus 8 and 1/2. So now we're subtracting, got to make sure we don't need to borrow in this case. My common denominator of 5 and 2 is 10. So then 5 times 2, so 6 times 2, 2 times 5, 1 times 5. Okay, so I have 14 and 6/10 minus 8 and 5/10. 6/10 is bigger than 5/10, so I don't need to borrow or regroup, which means I can just straight up do 14 minus 8 is 6. And then 6/10 minus 5/10 is 1/10. And that's my answer. Let's do one where we have to regroup. Okay, A, B, C, D. What if we had 1 and 7/9 minus 17 over 18? Well, here the common denominator, well, 9 goes into 18, right? So the common denominator must be 18. We have 17 and we have 1. 7 times 2 is 14. So here's an issue, right? When we have 14 over 18, that's definitely smaller than 17 over 18. So I need to borrow 1 from this one. Well, this only has 1, so I'm going to rewrite that as, I'm going to borrow this 1, rewrite the 1 as 18 over 18. And if I combine these, I get, oh man, 32 over 18 minus 17 over 18. Well, a shortcut is basically when you borrow 1, you're just adding the denominator onto the numerator, right? Because it's always going to be that denominator over itself, since anything divided by itself is 1, and you're only borrowing 1. So 18 plus 14, just like you're just adding the top with the bottom to get 32. And then we do 32 minus 17, that's what, 15? And then we get 15 over 18, and I can simplify that, divide by 3 to get 5 over 6. And then let's do 2 more, A, B, C, D, E. What if it's 1 and 7/15 plus 2 and 7/10? Here I'm going to do my strategy of I find the bigger denominator. 15 times 1 is 15. Does 10 go into 15? No. 15 times 2 is 30. Does 10 go into 30? Yes, it does. So that's my denominator. 30, 30. That's times 2. That's times 3. Okay. Then we add. 1 plus 2 is 3. 14 plus 21 is 35. That's improper fraction, so I can rewrite that as 1 and 5 over 30 plus the 3. So really this is, I add the whole numbers, 4 and 5 over 30. Simplify that to 4 and 1, 6. All right, and one more, A, B, C, D, E, F, F. Just a whole number by itself, 11 minus 6 and 5/9. I like to imagine this as 11 and 0/9 minus 6 and 5/9, right? Because there's nothing here. So it's basically 0 over whatever denominator we have. Since we have 9 already here, I can put 9 over there. Now I cannot do 0/9 minus 5/9, so I need to borrow, which means this 11, I borrow 1, so that becomes a 10. And then I rewrite the 1 as 9/9. So I rewrite that, and then minus 6 and 5/9. Right, because this is 10, this is 1, so combined they are 11. Right? I borrowed 1 from 11, brought it over as a fraction. Now I subtract my whole numbers. 10 minus 6 is 4. I subtract my fractions. 9 minus 5 is also 4, so 4/9. And that cannot be simplified, so that is my answer. All right, good luck on practice.